He is risen. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this saying, but hopefully it becomes familiar with you today, April 12th, 2020. I'm Pastor Shane Okimoto with Waiakea Baptist Bible Church, and this is He is risen. This is a common greeting, Easter greeting especially, that one Christian would say to another, and the other would reply, He is risen indeed. Other variations are truly He has risen or indeed He has risen. Sometimes people say He has risen and He has risen indeed. There's no known origin when this greeting began to be used and when this response was first used, but it has become a common phrase, especially for Resurrection Sunday. There are many places in the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, that speak to the risen Lord Jesus. And I'm going to read one from Luke, just as I did on Friday, and will preach from later today also. And this is Luke chapter 24, verses 1 through 12. On the first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women took the spices they had prepared and went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were wondering about this, suddenly 2 men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen. Remember how He told you when He was still with you in Galilee? The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, be crucified, and on the third day must be raised again." Then they remembered His words. When they came back from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11 and all the others. It was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the others who were with them who told this to the apostles. But they did not believe the women, because their words seemed like nonsense. Peter, however, got up and ran to the tomb. Bending over, he saw the strips of linen lying beside themselves, and he went away wondering to himself what had happened. So I did a devotional 2 days ago on Good Friday about the death and burial of Jesus. And that was from Luke 23. It's actually the verses that are immediately preceding these verses. And I told you on Friday that the good news was that wasn't the end of the story. There's more to this story. And that is what we celebrate today. Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. And in these verses that I just read, you see the beginning of this awesome story here of the empty tomb. And in the sermon later, we hear more about the disciples' encounter with the risen Lord in verses that immediately follow these in Luke. And that's where this particular phrase of He is risen indeed can be found. The fact that Jesus is risen is why we can look forward to this life as well as the next. Without the resurrection, there's no sense in following anything else that Jesus said. And, it's not just that Jesus has risen in the past, but that He continues to live and share His life with all of His followers. And so that's why I prefer to say He is risen rather than He has risen, although both are commonly used. So knowing that He is risen, when I say He is risen, you respond with the affirmative, He is risen indeed. So let me greet you one last time in this intro portion for our Resurrection Sunday worship service, followed with your appropriate and loud response of He is risen indeed. He is risen. Enjoy the worship, and don't forget your response during the sermon. I'll have that a number of other times as well. Have a blessed worship, and see you soon.